Nothing to it. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nothing to It. I'm your host, the Tool It Guy, and today we're going to be opening the pool. First task in opening the pool is removing the pool cover. We're going to be doing that with the pool cover tool, and I'm going to show you how this is used on the anchors all around the pool. This pool cover tool comes with its own little notches in the bottom. I'll show you how to use those in a minute. And on the end, it comes with its own Allen key for taking the anchors out. First thing you'll notice is that I am way overdressed for doing this. The reason for that being is that these steel toe boots are going to protect me from this spring. This spring is under a high amount of tension. If it releases in the wrong way, it can hit you in the ankle. You can be sore for days. I've been victim of it, so I've just learned to wear my boots for the first part of this process. Next, we're going to use your pool tool. We're going to take these notched edges and place it around your screw in the anchor. You're going to gently twist it with a bit of added leverage in order to pop this spring up to the bar, releasing it from the anchor point without hurting you. Then, using your Allen key, you can twist it back into the ground so that it's flush. Now that I've demonstrated how to remove the springs from the anchors, you're going to do that with all the other springs and anchors around the pool. Once you finish that, don't worry about your pool tarp falling into the water. You can drag that out after. If you have a friend, get them to help you because it can be heavy. If not, just slowly pull it to a corner and drag it out yourself. Try to make sure none of the plastic coverings for your springs fall in. If they do, try to retrieve them afterwards. I also recommend, before trying to pull this thing out of the pool, going inside and getting to something that you're willing to get wet in. Swimsuit, bathing suit, sandals, whatever. You can't escape this job without getting wet. I've tried for years, it just does not work. Let's dive right in. Alright, I've got my swimwear on, I'm ready to get wet. First thing I'm going to do is pull this tarp to the side over here. I'm going to do that slowly because I'm by myself. This is the hardest part of the video in my opinion. It's really heavy. I've got a wheelbarrow waiting. What I'm going to do is just bunch it all up at the side, put it in the wheelbarrow, cart it out to my front yard, spread it out, and let it dry in the sun. As you can see, once you get it pulled out to your front yard or a space large enough to spread it out, do so. I've used things like pylons. I've got boards on the corners. You can use bricks gently or something heavier, whatever you might want to help keep it from the wind blowing it away. Also, as it dries, I recommend taking a broom, just gently walking down through it. I usually just wear my sandals as I'm dusting it off, and then when I'm done sweeping it, I can fold it and let the other side dry for a little bit. Once it's dry enough, I can keep on doing that in incremental amounts until I'm ready to fold it up and put it away for the season. Once you have your winter cover all rolled up, folded, and put away in the bag, make sure you store it somewhere safe and dry and away from rodents. Mice, for some reason, love this material. They will chew a hole in it in a heartbeat. In front of me here, you'll see there are several components that I use when opening my pool. In the back corner here is our filter basket for the pool. This is another filter basket here, but it's for the pump. That is the drain cap for your sand tank. That is the glass, the eyeglass for your sand tank as well. Hose clamps for attaching to either the filter or the pump. These are drain plugs for your pump. Some jets for your pool. I'll show you how those go in shortly. Well, I'm going to show you how all these components work. This can actually pivot back and forth. You'll see how that goes in later. And lastly, you got some caps for your ladder. This is to protect the metal edge of your ladder from scraping up your liner. And this is the collar that covers the top part of your ladder.
One of the first things I like to do for safety's sake is put the ladder in the pool. Whether it's unsupervised or supervised, if somebody falls in, you want to make sure they always have a way of getting out of the pool. Just saying that, we're going to start with these plastic collars. You're going to want to slide those on the top part of your ladder. And then these rubber pieces that we had from earlier, they act as stops between your metal and the liner. You put them at the bottom just like this. We're going to put these two top parts of the pole into a set of holes here that are at the entrance of your pool. This is where the ladder will attach to, and we'll put it over the edge. Using two hands, slowly lower the ladder into place, making sure that the plugs stay on your ladder ends. Line up the ladder with the holes in the ground. Let the collars drop. Slowly wiggle it into place. Once it's in place, just want to double check and make sure that the plugs at the bottom of the ladder are against the liner and not falling off in the bottom of the pool.
As you can see behind me, there's this metal bar, two plastic hand wheels on each side. That is the piece that's going to hold our solar blanket on. Here in front of me is the solar blanket. As you can see, it's full of a lot of air bubbles. This just floats on top of your pool surface. It helps heat your pool up over the season. These are the straps that I'll be using to connect to the back pole. I'll show how those are connected in a moment. But first, I'm going to drape this over the pool for two reasons. One, it floats. I've done this before in the past where I thought it'd be easier to drag it out across my yard, try to roll it up on that pole. Apparently the weight of it kind of fights against it, pulls it off its supports, and it just turns into a bit of a nightmare. So I'm just going to unfold it, drag it out across the pool, show how these are connected after, and then wind it up. Once connected, you'll be able to unroll and roll up your solar blanket as often as you'd like. When you're not using it, you can actually leave it rolled up on that bar, and there's a large plastic sheet that you can use to cover it, protect it from the sun. If you don't protect it from the sun, it'll deteriorate a lot quicker and you'll have to get a new one. Here now at the solar panel strap. On one end, it's got a little spike and a hole on the other side. When this clips around your blanket, that will snap together, holding your blanket in place. You have to make a pre-made hole in order to put this little clamp through. Once you do that, simply just put it through the hole, snap it in. On the other end, there's a little Velcro strap. This one in particular came with little Velcro adhesive pieces that you put directly onto your pole. Once you get it in place, simply just wrap it around, Velcro it on. Do that for the rest of the pieces along the pole, and then you could start hand cranking your solar blanket in. Once you have your solar blanket completely rolled up and you plan on leaving your pool open for a couple of days, you're going to want to protect this from the sun. Mine in particular came with the large plastic sheet. I'm going to simply spread it out, wrap it around the solar blanket, and hold it down with some bungee cords to keep the wind from blowing it off. I'll demonstrate that now. I like to take the ends if you have a little excess, just tie it to the wheel for a little extra support. At the side of your pool, you'll notice that there's this square object there. This is the lid that covers the housing for your filter basket. You simply just pop the lid, and inside is where you would drop your basket in. Before I can put the basket in, I have a winterized plug in there to keep water from getting into the hole. You simply just reach in, unscrew it, pull it out. Inside the pool, you'll see that there's a spot where jets go. Right here is where mine is. It's got a little yellow plug in there. I'll have to unscrew that and put one of the jets in. I'll show you how to do that next. In order to get that plug out, what I like to use are my channel locks. I simply reach down in there with the channel locks gripped around the edge. I start loosening it off. Once you've gotten it loosened enough that you think you can unthread it the rest of the way with your hand, you can do so. Pull the plug out. Take your jet piece, spring forward, the ball in, pointing outwards. Put this thread into the hole where the plug used to be. Point your jet down into the pool so that when your pump is working, it will try to go as deep into the pool as possible. Try to put it in hand tight, all in one piece. Once you hand tighten it, again, use your channel locks. Point your jet where you need it to be and tighten it into place the rest of the way. Alright guys, this is your pool pump and sand tank system. This is the part where the water comes in and leaves back to the pool via the jets. From your filter basket at the pool, the water will come in here, go through a little filter basket inside your pump, go up to your tank. Depending on your setting here, the water will do a variety of things before leaving and coming back out via the jets. We're going to take a little walk to the pool now. I'll show you where each of those are. My pool specifically has two jets. There's one here, one at the other end of the pool just down below there, and over here, as you can see, this is where the filter basket goes. And that hole down there is where the water goes in all the way to your pool pump, and then when I said earlier it comes back out through the jets, it'll just simply come back out. Here's how the filter basket goes in. Once it's in place, you can simply cover it with the lid. First and foremost, before doing anything with your pool pump or sand tank, just make sure that it is in the off position so that when you are ready, you can turn it on knowing that you have the settings correctly set before operating it. Alright, starting with your pool pump. So first of all, this is the lid to your pool pump. All you have to do simply is unscrew these little pieces at the top and lift the lid off. A little gasket in here, make sure that's there. And you can put that square basket that you have, the part that says front, to the front, facing forward. Then you can put your lid back on, put these caps back up, and twist it back into place. What I have left are also these cap plugs, or sorry, drain plugs. There's one in the front, right there, and another one on the side, right there. Simply just thread them back in so that when the pump is working, the water doesn't spill out. You'll also need to connect this pipe if you need to. This one's just barely threaded on, but I will thread it on completely. And then make sure your hoses are connected up to your sand tank. So I have to push this pipe on further, tighten the hose clamp, make sure the same is done for this side and at the bottom. Make sure all these clamps are tightened in place before operating it. In the event that your knob unthreads from your pump like mine did, down inside where it came out, there's actually a little hole with a threaded area in it. You can simply just thread your knob back into that hole, and now it's back into the pivoting function that you need it to do for tightening your lid down to the pump. With this collar here, there's a threaded piece on the bottom part here. You simply line up the collar into the threaded spots here, and you tighten it together until it's hand tight. The big gray item here is your sand tank. This is where all the water comes in and gets filtered through. We'll go through that shortly on how to operate it. But first we're going to attach the remaining components that we had left from earlier. I've got my drain plug here and my sight glass. This one was actually cracked, so I put a little bit of tape on it, but for demonstration purposes I'm going to put it in anyway to show you how it attaches. First of all, when you get close, there's a threaded hole here. That's where your sight glass will go. Down below, there's a threaded extension here. That's where your drain cap is going to thread on, just hand tight. Coming back up to the top, there's another hose connection area with a loose hose clamp that I have in place. This is for your wastewater line. This will simply just slide on. You'll tighten that on with the hose clamp after. To get this hose attached to the tank, you're going to put a lot of pressure on this thing in order to push and wiggle to get the inner part of this hose to bite into the little ridges on this pipe here. Once you get that on far enough, you can put your hose clamp on and tighten it into place. There are a variety of settings on this system, so before we get started, I just want to make sure that our system is in the off position before doing anything. Once you know that it is off, you can actually activate this handle into whatever setting it is you need. In order to activate the handle, you simply press down, twist, put it into the notch that you need it to be in. So there's a lot of information to cover with the pool settings. I'm going to go through each of those right now with you. If you already know what to do with your pool pump settings, you can just skip this section. If not, hang tight. I'll go through them all right now. The filter setting. Your water will come in through this pipe here, into your pool pump, up into your tank, filter through the sand, come back out through this pipe here, and go back to your pool via the jets. This operation is used for filtration or when vacuuming your pool. The backwash setting. This setting is used to clean your filter tank sand. The water will come in through here, through your pump, up into the tank. It'll flush out all the dirt and algae that's been collecting. You'll notice that it's clean when this little sight glass here runs clear. It'll be green for a couple minutes, but as it's going, the water will waste out this waistline and be gone to the curb. The rinse setting is used to clean the water inside your tank. Once again, water will come in from your pool, into the pump, up into your tank, flush through the system inside, and waste out the water line. The waste setting is used when either lowering the levels of your pool or getting rid of heavy debris from the bottom of your pool, such as bugs and leaves and twigs that may have collected over time. Once again, water will come into your pump, come up here and bypass straight directly to your waistline and out to the curb. The close setting should be operated when the pool tank is off. Make sure it's in that position when you need to do any type of routine maintenance. The recirculate setting. This function is used when you're going to be away from your pool for a while. Now this doesn't take away from regular maintenance or pool cleaning, but it does bypass your tank when the levels are already correct and you're going to be away for a while. The water simply comes in to your pool pump, up to your tank, and simply comes back out to the jets. The winter setting is used in order to close your pool down for the season. Once all the plugs are removed and stored in the basket, you can then keep it that position until it's ready to be reopened. This is done so that the water lines don't freeze. When starting your pool pump for the first time this season, you're going to want to loosen these knobs, remove the lid, and fill this with water. I personally usually keep a bucket handy and just keep scooping the water that's been in the pool for the winter, pouring it in here until this water line is full. When you're finished with that, you can simply put your lid back on, tighten the knobs down, turn on your pump, and make sure that it's running correctly. You'll know it's running correctly when you don't see any water bubbles in the top. This is bad for your pump. If you happen to see that, simply turn off the pump, go through the cycle one more time until you get no air. Here's an example of what it might look like when you first start up your pump for the season. I have it set to filter. I'm about to turn on my pump, and we'll wait to see if the air bubbles clear out. If they are there at first, just watch it for a minute to make sure it clears. If it doesn't clear, that's when you have to take the lid off and add more water and try again. As you can see, no water is coming through there anymore. I will have to redo that by adding more water. So attempt number 2, we've added more water to the system. We're going to turn it on to try and flush out the rest of the air. As you can see, there's a bit of air still left in the system. But sometimes if you wait roughly a minute or so, this air will actually exit out of the system. Then you'll be left with a clear glass with no bubbling water. It took 3 attempts to succeed, but we finally have no air in the water pump and it's now functioning properly. Next stage in the game is going to be cleaning your pool. In order to do that, you're going to need your vacuum. Some of the parts to your vacuum are your vacuum head, the vacuum hose, comes all the way around to here, your extension pole, I already have mine fully extended, and your liner brush. Both these parts, the vacuum head and the brush, clip on to the end of this pole. This piece here goes into your filter basket on the other side of the pool. Quick demonstration of how these parts work. Simply take the end of your pole, find the holes, line them up with these 2 little tabs, squeeze them in, slide it onto place until it locks. You'll hear the click when it's connected. To detach it, simply compress the buttons on each side, pull the pole off, and interchange it with a brush or any other components you might have. As you can see, when I've opened up my pool, it seems to be fairly green this year. Sometimes you'll open it up and it's nice and clear, but for the most part you're going to end up with like bug debris in the bottom and a little bit of algae like this. What I don't recommend is taking your broom and sweeping it immediately, trying to clean it. I would recommend using the vacuum to do it gently and slowly. Otherwise, if you do this with your brush, you'll see all that green cloud gets all stirred up. That will make your water cloudy in no time and harder to clean. In order to start vacuuming, we have to make sure our vacuum head is connected to the pole and fill this hose with water. In order to do that, I simply put this in the water where my jet line is, and I allow it to fill with water. Once it's filled with water, I'll simply put it against my arm underneath the surface of the water and carry the hose around and put it into my filter basket area, allowing no air to get into the pump system. Now that I'm ready to vacuum the pool out, I'm going to put my pool setting to waste and then start sucking out all the debris and algae directly to the curb. Every so often you'll have to stop to clear out your filter basket in the pump. Lots of debris gets collected there. Try to make sure that's clear for a smooth process. Just like the previous video where I showed you the brush sweeping all that algae into a cloud, you're going to do this process slowly so as to not disturb that algae while using the vacuum head. You will eventually stir up some of it. It will slowly get cloudy, but at least you can eliminate the brunt of that. Now that we've got it on the waste setting, we can slowly push across the pool, trying not to disturb that algae and whatever else might be in the bottom of your pool. As long as you go slowly, take your time, you should be able to get through this process without too much disturbance. As you can see, there's still many spots where there's heavy soiling from where the vacuum wouldn't get all the dirt up off the ground. But I'm going to take care of that with the brush now. In the last video you saw that I set it up as I pulled out the vacuum hose. My water levels have gotten dangerously low, of course, since doing all that wastewater. I'm going to put the garden hose into the pool and top that up right now. Unfortunately, the next stage is actually making this pool a bit cloudy because we have to use the brush to sweep the rest of that algae. The reason I did it like this is so that I could actually see what I was vacuuming to start with, but in a couple of days after using your pool cleaning kit and your chemicals, it'll come back crystal clear. I'll show you that now. The pool water has gotten fairly cloudy now. On the positive side of things, it is more of a light aqua hazy color. If you had just used the broom to sweep all that algae right from the start, this would have been dark green in no time. So this is actually a good thing. After reading the instructions, you'll figure out what each of these chemicals is for. First up is the metasol. This is the one that controls scaling and staining on your pool. You will pour this into your pool around the edges of your water area and allow it to circulate for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes is up, you'll use this oxyote. This is a shock treatment for your pool, and it is also a dust-like substance. You'll broadcast this over the surface of your pool water and wait another hour before moving on to the next one. This last one is an algicide. It helps control the algae in your swimming pool. Again, much like the first one, you'll uncap it and pour the liquid around the outside edge of your pool into the water, and then wait overnight before doing your chemical chlorine shock treatment.
Metasol.
Oxyote.
While waiting for that hour in between for the chemicals to circulate, you can use your pool skimmer attach it to your extension pole, clean out the surface of your water, getting rid of some of the leaves and debris that might be floating around. Then you can probably add your final algicide.
Just by using the skimmer and getting rid of a bunch of the leaves and debris on the top, it already adds to the clarity of the pool. Another little detail that I missed in the previous video is that by using that skimmer, you essentially stir up the chemicals a little bit more as you're waiting for that hour to go by, helping move along the process. You'll notice that there's some debris collecting in your filter basket. All you simply need to do is reach in, grab the handle, pull it out, making sure that the debris is collected. You can discard it somewhere in your lawn, on your deck to get rid of later. Use a little rinse with the water from your pool to get the rest out. Then you simply just drop it back in. Just keep a close eye on it every couple of days to make sure there's no blockages.
Formula 500. Next on the list is pool shock. What we do for pool shock is we use a bunch of chlorine, and the amount of chlorine that you would use varies based on the size of your pool. But essentially what we're doing is we're boosting the level of chlorine in your pool in order to kill a lot of the algae that's been in there from over the winter. As you have to maintain it from week to week, you won't have to use as much chlorine. Personally, when I'm doing this, I like to stand over where there's a jet so that as soon as you're pouring it in, the jet kind of pushes it through and starts filtering it through the pool right away. I also personally like to put on a crappy shirt, some glasses, jeans, shoes, because sometimes it splashes and you don't want this chemical to get on your skin or into your eyes. You usually twist off the lid, take the relief valve off at the back, and you just slowly start pouring it in where the jets are. Once finished, put your caps back on, and I usually like to do a little water dunk with the jug just to clean off the chlorine up the outside. Then you can store it in a safe place. Alright, so we're at that point in the video of our opening our pool where you kind of have to wait a couple days for all your chemicals to start working their way through the water. You're going to notice each day that the water is going to get clearer and clearer as you go. You're going to need to let your pool pump run in the filter mode for those 2 to 3 days to make sure it's working properly. If you find that you're still having trouble, you need to get a sample and take it to your local pool supplier. All you have to do is simply fill one of these containers up,
Bring the water directly to your supplier. Let them check it to see what might be wrong with your pool. They'll give you some guidance from there. If you're still having trouble, they might recommend this 3-in-1 algae out. It's kind of like a super puck. It'll help clean the algae out. You simply just take one of these out, drop them into your filter, and let that run for a couple days as well. Once you get to that point, you're going to start being able to use your chlorinator. Simply just take some of these pucks, put them inside, seal it up, drop it in your pool. Lastly, I'm going to do a day-by-day photo to show as the pool clears what it looks like. And just remember, there's nothing to it. Now that the pool has been running for a couple days with our chemicals in it, we are now going to do a backwash. The backwash is this setting here on the bottom on my tank. So with our pump off, you press the lever, turn it to that so that it's lined up, notch it in, and when we turn our pump back on, it'll start flushing all the algae and debris out to the curb. What we're going to be watching for is this sight glass. It's going to turn green. As it's flushing it all out, it'll eventually turn back clear. Water's flushing out. The sight glass is getting all cloudy. Sometimes this can take a couple minutes, but it's healthy for the system. As you can see, it's starting to get fairly clear there now. Another few seconds, what we'll do is the rinse cycle. And that will rinse clean the water within your tank right after our backwash is done. Again, we have to turn off the pump, switch the lever to rinse, turn the pump back on. This can take anywhere from 10 seconds to a minute, depending on the severity of the dirt in your system. Once clean, you can stop it again. I usually take this time to clean out my pump basket. And then once that basket is cleaned out again, you can set your system back to filter and turn your pump back on again. And now my favorite part of cleaning your pool, getting a chance to walk around, looking how crystal clear it is, even to the point where the sun is kind of sparkling off the bottom of your liner. That's what you want to enjoy for your entire season.